Genshin Impact has a problem with its antagonists, or rather, it has a problem letting them be actual villains. In a world as vast as Teyvat, conflict is the engine of the story, yet that engine increasingly feels sanitized. First, we need to distinguish between an antagonist and a villain. An antagonist is simply someone who stands in the hero's way. A villain is someone who crosses a moral line and stays there. They have terrifying logic, genuine agency, and most importantly, they force the hero and the player to confront uncomfortable truths. In modern storytelling, we've become obsessed with the morally grey antagonist, the villain with a tragic backstory, a heart of gold buried under layers of trauma, someone who believes they're doing the right thing. But there's a cost to making everyone relatable. When every threat is just a misunderstood friend, the stakes of the world begin to evaporate. Today, I want to talk about why Genshin Impact is starving for a non-redeemable threat, why its antagonist roster keeps falling into the redemption or death trap, and why Il Dottore is the perfect foil to a superficially goody two-shoes traveler. Let's look at the track record. La Signora was the perfect classic villain, arrogant, cruel, and tied to a tragic past. Instead of exploring that depth, she was turned into a sacrificial lamb to demonstrate the Raiden Shogun's power. She was neutralized before her potential was ever touched. Then there's Childe. He's a fan favorite, but let's be honest, he's our battle-hungry buddy now. The stakes of him unleashing an ancient god on Liyue Harbor have been completely dissolved by tea parties and babysitting quests. Scaramouche, whose personality was built on centuries of spite and resentment, was effectively reset. It didn't just change, he erased the enemy we knew. And to be fair, his arc was well executed and it was never meant to be a long-term primary antagonist. Who doesn't like Hat Guy? And then there's Arlecchino, the Inazuma World quest involving Gendo Ringo and Lyudochka painted the knave as a monster who fed children into a psychological meat grinder. But the moment she became playable, that characterization was retconned into being the previous knave. Our Arlecchino is just a strict parent with a dark aesthetic. It felt like a calculated rewrite for marketability, because apparently in Hoyoverse's eyes, a playable character can't truly be evil and still be someone you'd want to place in your teapot. Even Vacher in Fontaine felt like a more effective villain, precisely because he was allowed to be genuinely nefarious. Because he's an NPC, he's allowed to be a monster. The moment a character becomes playable, the friendship level 10 mandate kicks in and their edges get sanded off. This brings us to Il Dottore. The Doctor represents everything the current narrative is missing. Pure, unadulterated agency. Dottore hasn't been waiting around for the traveler to arrive. He manipulates nations, he experiments on the sick. He doesn't seek revenge. He seeks to understand the fake firmament Irminsul and the laws of Teyvat itself. His logic is cold and scientific. As he puts it,
"You know, I heard recently that a group of critics reviewed countless stories and drew an interesting conclusion. They found that it is more often than not the villains who strive tirelessly to push the boundaries of progress."
Dottore didn't merely use Scaramouche, he engineered his trauma. He murdered Niwa, harvested his heart, and lied about it so the puppet would internalize betrayal. In the recent 6.3 content, Dottore does something no other antagonist in Genshin has done. He directly challenges the traveler's morality. He presents an Elysium scenario, a perfectly ordered static state, where a person exists in their ideal form, no suffering, no decay. To Dottore, this isn't cruelty, it's optimization. When the traveler recoils, he asks,
I wonder, is it your moral standards that are too high, or your expectations of reality?
He reframes the traveler as not a hero, but as a parallel. Both pursue a singular goal, both leave collateral damage behind. The difference is that Dottore refuses to pretend otherwise, and to him, relationships are transactional. He doesn't offer friendship, he offers cooperation. He even asks,
Well, why not? Should the good associate only with the good and the bad befriend only the bad?
There's a massive temptation to soften Dottore. You can already see the outline. A pure, conveniently stored, twink-sized segment designed to become the playable version. On the other hand, killing him off outright would be just as bad. Defeating Dottore through a simple power-up or the power of friendship wouldn't just be cliché, it would be a narrative failure. You can't outmuscle someone who has spent his entire existence trying to surpass the logical and physical limits of the world. To defeat a true monster, the traveler shouldn't just be stronger. They should be forced to outthink him, or at the very least survive him. If Dottore or any other villain falls to a shonen-style action sequence again, it retroactively proves that they were never actually frightening. A real villain challenges the player's worldview, not just the traveler's HP bar. Fixing Dottore or disposing of him too cleanly would collapse the tension of the entire Fatui plotline. There are 4 harbingers left? At this rate, Her Majesty the Tsaritsa is going to need to start posting job listing. Does a character need to be good for us to pull for them? I don't think so. I think we're ready for a playable monster, not another straight-laced friend, not another morally gray ally. A real villain would be a welcome change of pace. Someone who chooses cruelty, someone who prioritizes their vision over human life, someone who can't be guilt-tripped, befriended, or conveniently removed after a couple of patches. Genshin's world is already dark and lore-heavy, but much of that darkness is buried in esoteric texts and optional tomes most players will never read. It's time to bring that shadow into the foreground, to give the traveler's golden radiance something real to contrast against. So what do you think? Would an irredeemable playable Dottore ruin the vibe of your teapot? Or are you tired of every harbinger being our best friend the moment their banner drops or dying off altogether? Let me know in the comments.